structure. What did we prove?
So we were discussing spectral decomposition theorem.
Yeah. So yeah, we were looking at the properties of symmetric matrices, right? Properties.
Yes, sir.
Of symmetric matrices. In fact, it was symmetric real matrices. Yeah. So right now we will state it in terms of symmetric real matrices, but in a later lecture we will see what this means for complex matrices also. Okay, so yeah, so what did we say about real matrices, symmetric real matrices?
So all the eigenvalues are real.
Yeah. So the eigenvalues are real. Yeah. Even if you think of the real matrices as a matrix over the complex field, the eigenvalues has to be real. Okay. Yeah. So what else?
Eigenvectors with different eigenvalues are orthogonal.
So the eigenvectors corresponding to different eigenvalues are orthogonal. Yeah. So I mean so if the matrix is not symmetric, what can we say about eigenvectors corresponding to different eigenvalues?
They are linearly independent.
Yeah. So for a general matrix, eigenvectors corresponding to different eigenvalues are linearly independent. Yeah. But for a symmetric matrix, they are also orthogonal. Yeah. Okay. So what else did we do last class?
We proved that if M is a real symmetric matrix if and only if M has an orthonormal basis of eigenvectors.
Yeah. So we stated the following result. We didn't completely prove it, I think, right?
Yeah, we proved one side.
We proved one side. Yeah. Could you tell what was the side we proved?
We supposed that an orthonormal basis was present, and then we proved that M is a real symmetric matrix.
If F has an orthonormal eigenvector basis. Okay, I'll just write a short form, which is too long to write all the time. Orthonormal eigenvector basis. Yeah, if M has a orthonormal eigenvector basis, so each of these words are important. I hope all of you understands each of these words very clearly. Yeah. So everybody understand what this means? M has a orthonormal eigenvector basis.
Sir, I had a doubt in this. So shouldn't it be a condition that the dimension of this basis should be equal to the number of rows in M?
Yeah, so that's why it's called a basis, no? A basis means it spans the entire vector space, and the number of the basis has to be equal to the dimension of the vector space.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so basis means it's a basis for the vector space, and that is n. Yeah, so we always think of M as M belong to R raised to n by n. N is the dimension of the vector space. Yeah, and it's a basis means there are n vectors.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't have to be n vectors, right? It can be less than n also that form a basis. Oh, okay. R n cross n. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the the size of the basis has to be exactly equal to the dimension. The number of vectors in the basis has to be exactly be equal to the dimension. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. You take any basis set, it has to be exactly n in number. Yeah. Okay. So what did we prove? If M had a ONEVB, then what did we prove?
That M is a symmetric matrix with real entries.
Yeah, so here the vector space is real vector space. So M is symmetric. Okay. So so there was the converse also. We proved one part of the converse. Do you remember? We proved a restricted case of the converse, the opposite direction.
So since this is orthonormal, then P, the change of basis matrix, will also be symmetric. We proved that, and then we said
P
that
is a symmetric matrix. Did we prove that P is a symmetric matrix?
No, not symmetric. P into P transpose is equal to I.
Yeah. So we proved that P inverse equal to P transpose. Yeah. If P is the change of basis matrix yeah, from one orthonormal basis to another orthonormal basis, then P inverse equal to P transpose. This was an observation we made. Yeah. And using this observation, we also concluded something. Yeah. So suppose if M has n distinct eigenvalues, then what can we say?
So it's a diagonalizable matrix.
It's a
So the
diagonalizable
eigenvectors of M are orthogonal.
Yeah. So then the eigenvectors of M are orthogonal, and in fact, we proved the converse, right? Right. So everything assumes that symmetric matrix. So everything in this lecture assumes that M is a symmetric matrix. It's always there. Okay. Yeah. So you understand all these results, right? Any questions?
Sir, do we need result number 4, like, because we already assumed that the original basis was the standard basis?
So I mean, this is a more general result, yeah, and it just follows from your change of basis things that you learned in the first part. Yeah, if you change from one orthonormal basis to another orthonormal basis, then P inverse, the change of basis matrix will have this property. P inverse will be equal to P transpose. Okay. Yeah, but it's a good thing to know. Yeah, what this is.
So, and also, is it that from 3 and 5 that the theorem is now completely proven?
Why is from 3 and 5 the theorem is completely proven?
So because isn't 5 the forward way that since M is symmetric, then it will have orthonormal eigenvector basis?
No. So that is the thing. Like, so what is the theorem we want to prove? The spectral theorem we want to prove is the following. The spectral theorem we want to prove states that M is symmetric if and only if M has orthonormal eigenvector basis. This is the theorem we want to prove. So how we proved this theorem?
So now basically we just have to prove that every symmetric matrix will have n distinct eigenvalues.
Okay, that's an interesting statement. Is that true?
So because if we are able to prove that, then the theorem is proven, right?
Yeah, I agree with that, but is that statement true?
I think so. It all lines up.
Okay. Anybody has a counter example?
So the identity matrix.
Yeah. You agree that it's a counter example,
Yes,
Shreyansh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
So that statement, no, it's a good, yeah, I mean, so that statement says that, okay, that particular statement is not true, so we need to do something different. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So now, so today we are going to prove the statement. Okay, so we want to show that theorem. We want to show that M is symmetric implies M has ONEVB. Yeah, so this strange thing ONEVB, yeah, means orthonormal eigenvector basis. Yeah, I just don't want to keep repeating these words all over again. Okay, so the goal is clear. Yeah, so everybody understands what the statement means.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So, so if you take any matrix M, yeah, so we can look at a characteristic polynomial of M, right? And the characteristic polynomial of M has at least one root.
So we mean one distinct root, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, why is that?
Sir, because
all
degree is
roots
n.
are there.
Yeah. The degree of the characteristic polynomial is exactly n, not less than or equal to n. It is exactly n. Yeah, very important point. So maybe the I mean all the roots are repeated. Yeah, so it will have at least one root. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And if M is a symmetric matrix, that root has to be a real root, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's call that eigenvalue lambda 1, yeah, and the eigenvector w1. Yeah. So is w1 real or w1 can be complex?
W1 can be complex, I think.
Yeah. So we didn't say when we w1 can be complex. Yeah, I mean there is no guarantee that w1 is real. Okay, so w1 can be complex. Now the interesting thing is that so m times w1 equal to lambda times w1. Right? That's what this means. Yeah. Now can w1 be really complex?
Sir, M and lambda are all real, so why would W1 be complex?
Yeah, yeah. So implies that W1 also belongs to real. You agree? Yeah, so these are both, this is a real number and this is a n-dimensional real vector. Everybody agrees?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah.
Sir, how? I didn't get how.
So this is true, no, this equation is true. M times W1 is lambda times W1.
Yes, sir.
And M and lambda are real.
Are real, yeah. But how? Yes, sir. But how does that imply W1 is real?
So W1, suppose, okay, that doesn't mean W1 is not real. Yeah, you are right. Actually, that is not, this is not correct actually.
Yes, sir. If we multiply, scale it by n complex value.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean W1 is real. Yeah, you are
Yes,
right.
sir.
Yeah, thanks. But can you find another W1 which is real?
So what exactly do we mean another W1 which is real? Like what property are we looking for?
So we want another eigenvector of lambda 1 which is real.
Yes, sir, we can only take the real part of W1.
Okay, so if we take the real part of W1, let's call this W1 prime. Yeah. So yeah, what can we say about W1 prime?
Sir, I think we can say that W1 prime is also an eigenvector.
Why is that true?
I don't think so.
I think somebody was saying for one.
Because like if this thing is true, then for every matrix that has only real entries and has a real eigenvalue, then like all the eigenvectors would be real. But I don't think that's the case.
No, it doesn't mean all the eigenvectors are real. It means that for every eigenvalue has a real eigenvector. That's all it means.
So we can just split W1 into both real parts and the imaginary parts. We can say that we show that the real part after the multiplication, the real parts and imaginary parts must be equal.
Yes.
Therefore, MW1 prime is equal to lambda 1 prime because the real parts will be equal.
Yeah. So therefore, W1 prime also has eigenvalue lambda 1. Everybody agrees?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So what is the real part is 0 and it is purely imaginary?
That's a good question. What if the real part is 0 and it's purely
So
imaginary?
then we can take the imaginary part, no?
Then we can take the imaginary part. Okay, does that work?
Yes.
Yes, sir, it will work.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. Yeah. So this need not be or imaginary part of W1. Yeah, whichever is non-zero. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, I didn't understand this part. I thought we wanted W prime to be completely real.
Yeah. So the imaginary part, you mean you remove the I and take the whatever the remaining.
So that will hold for that also, yes.
Yeah. I mean, imaginary part, you mean you just separate out the I from it and the real part, real number sitting there is the imaginary part. Okay. Yeah, fine. So we found one eigenvector, one real eigenvector and real eigenvalue for M. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now we will find an orthonormal basis, yeah, for r raised to n, yeah, for the real vector space, yeah, which is of this form, w1 prime, w2 prime up to wn prime, yeah. So we want to start from w1 prime and then you add some other n minus 1 vectors. Can we find that, such a basis?
Yes, sir.
Why? Why do you think you can find such a basis? How do we find it?
Sir, isn't that what we are out to prove in the first place?
No, these are not orthonormal eigenvector bases. No, only w1 prime is eigenvector. Other things need not be eigenvector.
Okay, sir.
So we can start with the standard basis, I think, and take the first vector as w1 dash and then apply the Gram-Schmidt thing to find the orthonormal basis.
So if we want to use the Gram-Schmidt, Gram-Schmidt assumes that you have a basis, right? And then it converts into a orthonormal basis.
So then I would argue that for like if we have a vector space with of n dimension, then if I only have like I take one vector, then I can always find a basis.
Yeah. So you can start with w1 prime and find a basis for r raised to n. Yeah. For example, you take w1 prime and then you add it to a basis for w1 perpendicular. So what is w1 perpendicular? So w1 prime perpendicular.
Subset of all orthonormal vectors to w1 prime.
Yeah, subset of all the vectors which are dot product 0 with w1 prime. Yeah, and that's a vector space of dimension
n-1.
Everybody knows how to prove that? Yeah. So the dimension of w1 prime perpendicular is n minus 1. Does everybody know how to prove that? Okay. Yeah. So then you will have another n minus 1 basis for that, and that is w2 prime to wn prime. Okay. Yeah. So we found this orthonormal basis. Yeah. And suppose we change the basis, yeah, from standard basis to this basis. Yeah. So P is the change of basis matrix. Yeah. So you change the basis and you will get another matrix M prime. Okay.
So before you continue, sir, so we're assuming w1 prime through wn prime are distinct.
And there are bases, no? So they have to
Yes,
be
sir.
distinct, no?
So where do we get that they're distinct from?
They are linearly independent because they are a basis. They have to be distinct.
I mean to say, have we assumed a basis, or like where do we get that they're linearly independent from?
No. So the claim is we can always find a orthonormal basis with w1 prime as the first element in the basis set.
And the remaining elements are from the perpendicular set of perpendicular vectors, right, sir?
Yeah. So you don't agree with that statement?
So I just don't understand where we got w2 prime through wn prime from.
Okay.
That's one.
Yeah. So let's say we will find a basis for w1 prime perpendicular. Yeah. There will be n minus 1 elements in that basis, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now we can orthonormalize them using Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the resulting vectors you get is w2 prime to wn prime.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then these vectors form an orthonormal basis for r raised to n.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. And now P is the change of basis matrix, and M prime is you change the this thing. Okay. Yeah. Now we want to understand how does M prime look like. Yeah, so how does M prime look like? Can we say anything about M prime? Can we say anything about the first row or column of M prime? Any ideas?
So first thing, I think P inverse should be P transpose, right?
Okay, yeah, P inverse equal to P transpose. Yeah, that we know. Why is that?
Orthonormal, because they are orthonormal basis
Yes.
vectors.
Okay. Yeah. So
And then because it's a diagonal matrix, the first element should be okay.
So what is the diagonal matrix? I don't know what is the diagonal matrix here.
Sir, the first column should be W1 prime, shouldn't it? For M prime.
The first column has to be W1 prime. Why do you say that?
Sir, it's in the basis, since M prime is the changer, like is the matrix for the basis of for the convert. Oh no, sir, I'm confusing.
That's P, right?
Yeah. My bad.
So should this whole thing will be so W1 prime will be the row instead, right?
W1 prime is the row of M prime.
So lambda 1 will be at the first cell, right?
Lambda will be at the where? Sorry.
Lambda, the first row will have all zeros except the first cell, because we
first row. So you are saying I had to put lambda 1 here and zeros here.
No, zeros in the column, the rest of the column.
Okay.
Like that's all because W1 prime was the eigenvector with this.
Yeah. So W1 prime is the eigenvector. So what are the coordinates of W1 prime with respect to M prime?
1 and then remaining are zeros.
Yeah. So M prime times this 1 0 0 0 0. What should this be?
Lambda 1 0 0 0.
Has to be lambda 1 0 0 0. Everybody agrees?
Yes.
So why is W1 prime 1 0 0 0?
This is our basis. No?
So it's not the standard basis. It's not necessary that it's the standard basis.
No. What is the coordinates of W1 prime with respect to this basis?
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. 1 0 0 0.
1 0 0.
Yes, sir.
And M prime is the matrix in the new basis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But M prime has the same eigenvalue lambda 1 and same yeah.
Yes, sir.
So this has to be true.
Sir, but like okay, yes, sir. Because
eigenvalues is not going to change.
Yes, sir, but eigenvectors will just change the basis system.
Yeah. Even eigenvectors in abstract vector terms, eigenvectors are not changing. Yeah. But the coordinates of the vector will change.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the coordinates in this new basis is, that's why we started with W1 prime, such that we will get this. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Everybody agrees with this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then you agree that the first column has to look like this.
Yes.
Okay. So can we say anything about the first row?
Remaining values will also be 0.
Why is that?
If we take the other standard basis, wouldn't it be mapped to a single eigenvector, another single eigenvector? Sorry, eigenvalue.
Could you repeat that statement? Sorry, I didn't follow.
So if we take another standard basis from M, so when we map it to the new basis, wouldn't it also have to map to a single basis vector?
No, I still didn't follow your statement. Sorry. You are talking about this particular change of basis?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's see a simpler argument. So is M prime symmetric?
I guess for now we cannot say that.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, it is.
Yes, sir, it is. Because P inverse is P transpose.
Yeah, what is this?
So
A
directly
transpose, M transpose.
Yeah. So, so this will get a P transpose MP, yeah, which is equal to M prime. Yeah. So M prime is a symmetric matrix, right? So what is the row then? First row.
So rest will be zeros.
Same as the first column.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So good. So, but we cannot say anything about what is sitting here. Yeah, this might be another matrix. Yeah. So let's call this M tilde prime. Okay. Can we say anything about M tilde prime?
So why can't we say anything? We can use the same W1 prime logic and say that the second column will be 0, lambda 2 and the rest will be
But
0.
W2 prime is not an eigenvector or anything.
Oh, yes.
you can say it's symmetric.
Yeah. Yeah. But we can say M tilde prime is symmetric. Everybody agrees?
Yes, sir. And sir, since it is symmetric, we can say that it has an ONEVP.
Yeah. But remember, we started with a matrix which is symmetric and made all this argument, and we got another smaller symmetric matrix. Okay. Yeah. So then how do you prove? Can you come up with a method for proving the statement?
So by recursion, we can say that we can find a column that is
By mathematical induction.
Yeah. By mathematical induction. Yeah. Or recursion.
Sir, why aren't we writing the second column as 0, lambda 2, and 0, 0, 0?
Because W2 prime is not a eigenvector. W2 prime is some basis for this W1 perpendicular. Who said this is a eigenvectors of the matrix? Right, Aditya? How did we make this argument that this is all zeros and this is this thing? We made this argument because W1 was an eigenvector and this was true. Yeah, but we cannot say that about W2 prime to Wn prime. But we reduce the size of the matrix. That's the most important thing. Here it became lambda 1, 0 everywhere else, and we got a n minus 1 by n minus 1 symmetric matrix. Right? So now what you will do is, you will do the same argument. You will have a characteristic polynomial for m prime tilde, which has one root. This is also a symmetric. So you will get lambda 2 and W2, and you will get W2 prime. Okay, this is not the same W2 prime here, but it will be a new this thing. Yeah. So you will get some m double prime. Yeah. Such that remember, so when we make this orthonormal basis, we will keep the old W1 prime. Yeah. And W2 prime will become the new eigenvector corresponding to m tilde prime. Yeah. So you will get lambda 1, lambda 2. These will be zeros. These will be zeros. These will be zeros. Yeah. And then you will get a smaller matrix m tilde double prime.
So why m double dash?
Why m double dash? Because we are again have to do change of basis. We had to repeat this entire argument.
Got it, sir. Got it, sir. So the W2 prime in that one and this one will be different.
Yeah. W2 prime and that one and this one will be different. In fact, the W2 prime in the new one will be an eigenvector of m tilde prime.
Got it. Understood, sir.
Yeah, and that's why we can make this argument here.
So one question. So when we did the first change of basis for m prime and we wrote the row and column, and then when we are doing it for m tilde prime, isn't that a different basis?
Yeah. But when you do this for m tilde prime, you will keep w1 prime as it is. You won't touch w1 prime.
All right, sir.
Yeah. So we won't be changing the first row or first column. That we will that basis you won't touch. You will only modify this w2 to wn prime. You will make this w2 prime the eigenvector for m tilde prime.
So sir, by the time when we're done, we'll have a basis that starts with w1 prime, and the other basis vectors have all the properties we need. Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah. So if we keep on doing this, yeah, you will get a matrix, yeah, which is lambda 1, lambda 2 up to lambda n, and you have 0, 0, 0, 0 everywhere else. Yeah. In some basis, yeah, in some orthonormal basis. Yeah, and that's also going to be orthonormal eigenvector basis.
Yes, sir. Because we proved every single vector is going to be. We made all the basis vectors eigenvectors.
Yes. Yeah.
Sir, what do you mean by some orthonormal basis? We already had the change of matrix P, right? So what do you mean some?
So remember at the ith stage, yeah, when you do the induction at the ith stage, yeah, the matrix would be partially diagonal, but there will be always be some part here sitting which is not diagonal. This will be zeros, lambda 1 to let's say lambda I, and this will be zeros. Yeah, there will be some entries here. Yeah, and this you would have this matrix will be according to some orthonormal basis, which is w1 prime, w2 prime up to wi prime, and then there will be wi plus 1 prime up to wn prime. Yeah, and this particular set of vectors will be eigenvectors, right? So
yes,
these might not be eigenvectors, need not be eigenvectors. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but by the end, everything will become an eigenvector.
Yes, sir, but what exactly do you mean when you say in some, like what basis? In some orthonormal basis means?
So, all the time. So, what are we doing? We are just doing a change of basis, right? Yeah. So the matrix. So what this is? So this is equal to P inverse MP. Yeah, where P is a change of basis. Yeah. So P is a change of basis to a orthonormal basis. That's all we can say.
So I think I'm getting confused because initially we said W1, W2 prime and so on are not eigenvectors, and now I think we're using the same names for different things, right? So,
okay, so let me say, okay, let's call this W1 double prime or something. So this is, you'll have to put n primes. So let's call this, at the ith stage, this is this. Yeah, and when you reach n stage, you will get W1 n, W2 n up to Wn n. Does that reduce your confusion?
yes, sir. Although W1I is equal to W1N, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, okay, sir.
yeah. So basically, you will have all these vectors W11 up to Wn1, yeah, and W1n up to Wnn, yeah. So you will have a set of vectors like this, and these will be the same vectors. Similarly, these will be the same vectors. These will be the same vectors. These will be the same vectors. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, could you explain something that when we're doing this on a like as we go on step by step, sir, we have assured that the eigenvectors we get, like that basically we'll be getting eigenvectors, but how do we know that they also happen to be orthonormal to each other?
But each time we were finding an orthonormal basis.
So we started with an orthonormal basis, but now we are finding eigenvectors, right, sir? And in the original basis, all of them weren't eigenvectors.
Yeah. So in the first stage, the first vector was an eigenvector and everything else was not an eigenvector.
Yes, sir.
Right? But they were orthonormal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. In the second stage, we will keep W1 as it is. So W12 is going to be equal to W11.
W.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But now we are looking at the eigenvector of m tilde prime. Yeah. But now in the second stage, W2 will also become an eigenvector of m tilde prime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Which is also eigenvector of m.
Yes, sir. But is W22 orthonormal to W1?
Every row here is orthonormal because that's how we did that. Remember, so I mean, remember this space is orthonormal to W1 prime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And what is m tilde? So any eigenvector of m tilde prime is going to be in this space only, perpendicular to W1 prime only. So we choose this W2 to Wn prime perpendicular to W1 prime, no?
Yes, sir. So m tilde prime represents the space of W1 perpendicular, sir.
Yeah. M tilde prime is going to be acting on W1 perpendicular.
Sir, I don't see this very well, sir.
Yeah, you don't see this very well. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, what is, so in this new basis, yeah, in this new basis, what is W1 perpendicular?
At this point, we'll just be 0, 1, 0, 0, and like 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, so on and so forth.
No, so in this new basis, what is W1 perpendicular? W1 perpendicular are all vectors of the form 0, A, B, C, D.
Okay, right, sir.
Yeah. And basically, I mean, so any eigenvector of m tilde prime is going to have the first coordinate to be 0. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So any eigenvector of this, I mean, basically the eigenvector will be basically n-1 dimensional, and you will add a 0 to the first coordinate, right?
Understood.
You get yeah. So
yeah,
if you take a eigenvector of m tilde prime and add a 0 to the first coordinate, you will get a eigenvector of m prime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Because these entries are 0. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you just take a eigenvector of m tilde prime and add a 0 to the top, it will be an eigenvector of m prime. Yeah. And it will be orthogonal to W1 prime.
Yes, sir. Yes, understood.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So we can say this.
Yes.
Okay.
So just to make it clear, sir, I understood how lambda 1 was an eigenvalue of m. So lambda 2 is an eigenvalue of m because it's also an eigenvalue of m tilde prime, which is a subspace of the span of m.
Yeah.
Is that
If
right?
yeah, I mean any eigenvalue of m tilde prime is also eigenvalue of m prime. That is easy to prove. You can try to prove that separately.
So that is because m tilde prime is a subspace of m, right, sir?
It's not a subspace, it's a submatrix of m. Yeah.
Sir, I don't see it very clearly.
No, you should try it yourself. That's the only way to say it. There's no way of seeing it. You should write the statement and try to prove it. So if lambda 2 is an eigenvalue of m tilde prime, it's also an eigenvalue of m prime. Why? So, okay, let's write this and show. So suppose you have a matrix like this. Yeah, and you have lambda 1, and here it is zeros, here it is zeros, and you have let's say m tilde here. M is like this, suppose. Yeah. So m tilde is belonging to r raised to n minus 1 by n minus 1.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and suppose you have an eigenvector of m tilde with eigenvalue lambda 1. Sorry, lambda 2. Yeah, so V belong to r raised to n minus 1, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then the claim is, so can you tell me an eigenvector of m with eigenvalue lambda 2?
So I think it'll be 0 and then all the components of V.
Yeah, 0 and all the components of V is eigenvector of m with eigenvalue lambda 2. Do you agree?
Yes, sir. So this is the claim.
Yeah, this is the claim. Can you prove it? So what happens if you do m times this particular vector?
Okay, so we can say that the first just a second, sir. Okay, so since the first component of our new vector is simply multiplied by the first row and then it's 0, it's not affecting our entire sum at all. So it's essentially only it's still being multiplied by m tilde only. So that's why we can say that.
Yeah. So you agree with this statement?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and this is 0 times lambda times V, and this is lambda times 0 times V. Yeah, agree?
Yes, sir. So V is itself a column vector here, right, sir?
Yeah, V is itself a column vector. That is right. N minus 1 dimensional.
So just to be clear, this is not true with any general matrix, right? It's only true because the first row and first column are 0.
Is this true for actually no, actually this could be anything, and still I think this is true. Where did you use just a second, I'm not completely sure.
So I think it will hold because in the vector we're taking the first component to be 0, so it does not matter what the first row was.
So, but like if all the other entries in the first row and first column were 1, let's say, and the A11 was lambda 1. So when we multiply.
Okay. Yeah. So let's not try too much general statements, but you agree with this for symmetric and this 0?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. For now, let's stop there. Okay. Yeah. If we go in general direction, we'll go in all sorts of directions, and there's one more little topic I want to cover today. Yeah. But you should think about this offline. Okay. What other statements you can prove? Okay, so do you agree with the spectral theorem now? Have you proved the spectral theorem? Any questions?
No doubts.
Yeah. So it's a proof by mathematical induction. It's a beautiful proof, actually. I mean, the way it works. Okay. So you should go over it multiple times. Okay. It's a very non-trivial result. If you think about it, it's a very non-trivial result. How, when symmetric matrix, how can it have orthonormal eigenvector matrix? I mean, in particular, this means that all symmetric matrices are diagonalizable, right? You agree? All symmetric matrices are diagonalizable?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And this is saying something stronger. It is diagonalizable in a orthonormal basis, not just any eigenvector basis, in a orthonormal eigenvector basis. Okay.
So could you explain why we were able to say that?
Why we were able to say that?
It was diagonal.
Because we used, P inverse equal to P transpose, we used that property. And we were always able to come up with this W1 prime to Wn prime. In the ith stage of this process, you could get the first prefix, yeah, to be eigenvectors, of I things to be eigenvectors, while keeping everything to still orthonormal. Right? So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, we were reducing the dimension of the matrix like this, and we were actually finding the eigenvectors of the smaller matrices and filling in zeros above it. Yeah. So the new vectors we are finding, we have ensured that they are orthogonal to the previous vectors, right? By filling the zeros in the top components, yeah, the previous components, we have ensured that the new eigenvectors we find are orthogonal to the previous eigenvectors we found, right? Yeah, it is this particular statement again. So the new eigenvector we find for m tilde is actually orthogonal to the first eigenvector because we put 0 in the first component. Yeah, so you will have a prefix of zeros in the ith stage. Okay, so that's how we ensure it to be orthogonal. Is that clear? Any questions? Okay, so the spectral theorem is slightly, is stated sometimes in a slightly different way. Okay, so it is called the spectral decomposition theorem also. Yeah, and it's stated in a slightly different way. Yeah, it says that M is symmetric if and only if M can be written as okay. Yeah, so M is a symmetric matrix if and only if M can be written as something like this. Yeah, where lambdas are eigenvalues and ui's are form a orthonormal basis. Okay, is the statement clear? So what kind of quantity is this ui transpose? Yeah, so this was also part of your quiz last time.
For n cross n matrix.
Yeah, so this is a n cross n matrix. Yeah, and what else can you say about them?
Symmetric.
Yeah, they are symmetric. Yeah, and we also said one more thing about them.
Dot product.
It's called the outer product. This particular thing is called the outer product. Yeah, and the special part of it is it has rank equal to 1. Okay. Yeah, everybody understands what this is? So UI transpose is a n by n matrix which is symmetric. Yeah, this particular product is called the outer product and it's a rank 1 matrix. Yeah, this was there in the discussion of the first quiz. Okay. Yeah. So how do you prove the spectral decomposition theorem? Can we prove the forward direction first or the backward direction, which is easy?
Forward, sir.
Forward you want to give. So let's try the backward first. That has a very simple direct proof.
So if the rank is 1, I think it can be written as all zeros with just one diagonal element 1 by using some row column operations.
Okay, so anybody has any other suggestions for showing the backward direction?
Sir, all the matrices are already symmetric, so the sum of symmetric matrices is going to be symmetric.
Yeah, sum of symmetric matrices is going to be symmetric. Is symmetric, yeah. So backward direction is obvious. Yeah. Now can you prove the forward direction?
Sir, from the previous theorem, we can say that it has n eigenvalues, and it forms an orthonormal basis, so we can multiply it with UI.
Yeah. So from the previous theorem, theorem, we know that M has let's say eigenvector eigenvalues. M has, yeah. So let's say lambda 1 to lambda n are the eigenvalues, yeah, and u1 to un are the eigenvectors. Okay. So this lambda I to lambda n are the eigenvalues and u1 to un are the eigenvectors. Yeah. Yeah.
So here all the lambdas are
UI
not
transpose is always going to be a single diagonal element will always be 1.
Sorry, could you repeat from the beginning?
Sir, for UI transpose, we can say that the ith diagonal element will be 1.
Okay. Ith diagonal. So UI can be any vector, no? So why should if the ith, what is the ith entry of UI transpose? The UI. So let's say take U transpose. U is some vector and you take U transpose. What is the ijth entry of this? The ijth entry of this matrix is nothing but UI into Uj. Yeah, so so let's say U is this matrix. So let's give a different name. So V is this vector. So V1 up to Vn. V is a vector belong to R raised to n. Yeah. Then V transpose V transpose. The ijth entry is nothing but Vi into Vj. Right? Yeah. Okay. So
Sir, isn't it orthonormal?
What is orthonormal? Sorry.
Sir, in the spectral decomposition theorem, didn't you write eigenvector and UYs are orthonormal basis?
Yeah. So we are proving the forward direction, right? So we only know that M is symmetric.
Okay.
Yeah. So now M has, let's say the eigenvalues of M is lambda 1 prime to lambda n prime. Let's say these are the eigenvalues. Yeah. And these are the eigenvectors. Okay. It might not be, yeah, there are some eigenvalues and some eigenvectors, and these are orthonormal, right? Yeah. Now consider the matrix M prime equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n lambda I prime ui prime transpose. Yeah. Consider this matrix M prime. Yeah. Is M prime equal to M?
I would believe so, sir.
And if we prove that M prime equal to M, we are done, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So why is M prime equal to M?
We multiplied with ui from 1 to n. Ui transpose u1 will be 1 for u1 only and 0 for the rest.
Yeah,
Because
so
it's
what
dot
was your quiz question? In your quiz, what was the question about M prime? Question was about M prime only, no?
It was too traumatizing, sir, so I forgot.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, if M prime looks like this, then lambda I prime has to be the eigenvectors of M prime. If M prime equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n lambda I prime ui prime ui transpose, yeah, then lambda I primes has to be eigenvalues and ui prime has to be eigenvectors. In fact, or yeah, eigenvectors.
Sir,
This
what
is my
does
claim.
M prime mean here?
M prime is this particular matrix.
Sir,
We started with M
prime
is a symmetric matrix, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then we use the previous spectral theorem to come up with lambda 1 prime to lambda n prime and u1 prime to un prime. You agree?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. This form a orthonormal eigenbasis, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then we defined this particular matrix. This is a symmetric matrix. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now the question is M prime equal to M?
Oh, okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And my first claim is, if M prime is this, then lambda I prime has to be the eigenvalues of M prime. Can you prove this?
I think if we multiply it with u1 ui dash from the right side, we'll be able to show this.
Yeah. So if you do this, what will happen?
So all the others will be 0 because m was symmetric. So u1 dash to un dash are orthonormal.
So this is you are multiplying with u1 first, yeah? Yeah. So what is this?
U1 dash,
This is the dot product.
Dot product. So it will be 0 for all except u1.
Yeah. It will be lambda 1 prime times. So what is this? For I equal to 1.
1 u1 dash into 1.
Yeah. So into 1. Yeah.
So then the proof is complete because we can just extend it to any I.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this claim is proved. Yeah. But then now let's come back to this question. Can M prime be different from M? Both of them have the same eigenvalues and same eigenvectors. You agree? Both M and M prime has the same eigenvalues and same eigenvectors. And they be different.
So are the bases same? Is the basis same?
All these equations are with respect to any basis. We are always assuming the basis is the standard basis, right?
Okay, so
Now, can M prime be different from M? They have the same, they have n linearly independent eigenvector bases. Yeah, both of them have the same n linearly independent eigenvector bases and the same eigenvalues. Can they be different?
They can only be like scaled versions of each other.
Can they even be scaled versions?
No, sir, because the diagonal ones, the diagonal matrix will be same, and then the change of basis matrix will also be the same. So if we multiply diagonal matrix D with P, D, P inverse, then it will be M and M dash. So M is equal to M dash.
Yeah. So take for any vector, take any vector in R raised to n. Yeah. So what is M times V? Yeah. So M times V is M times, let's write V in terms of the eigenvector basis. Yeah. Summation over I equal to 1 to n V dot Ui prime times Ui prime. Do you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And now if you bring it inside, yeah, what should I write here?
Lambda I dash.
Yeah. And this is also equal to M prime times V, no? M prime times V is also the same. Ui's are again the same eigenvectors and eigenvalues.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for every vector, the matrix M and M prime is acting the same way. So they have to be the same matrix. Okay. So let me just quickly recap, and then I can yeah, take questions. Yeah. So yeah, we basically discussed the spectral decomposition theorem. Yeah. So this is one version of stating it. M is a symmetric matrix if and only if M has a orthonormal eigenvector basis. Yeah. One side of it we already proved in the last class. Yeah. And we today we proved this particular direction. If M is symmetric and M has a orthonormal eigenvector basis. And we proved this by mathematical induction. Yeah. So we started with M. Yeah. And we found one eigenvalue pair of this, where the eigenvector is actually a real eigenvector. Then we changed the basis, yeah, such that the first column and the first row is 0 except the 1 entry. Yeah. And then we found the smaller matrix M tilde prime. And M tilde prime also happened to be symmetric. Yeah. And we could repeat the same argument for M tilde prime. So you will get smaller matrices like this. And if you keep on doing this process, you will get a diagonal matrix, yeah, which implied that you had a orthonormal eigenvector basis. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, this is a very classic induction proof. Yeah, I suggest that you go over it multiple times. This is one of the complex, harder topics in linear algebra. The only way to fully be comfortable is to go over it multiple times. So we also stated this in a slightly different way. Yeah, M is symmetric if and only if M can be written as the linear combination of some very simple matrices. Yeah, so these matrices are symmetric rank 1 matrices called the outer products, and these are the eigenvectors and lambda i's are the eigenvalues. These are the orthonormal eigenvectors, in fact. And we showed that, okay, yeah, yeah, this follows from the previous theorem that we proved. Okay, that's all for today. I can take questions.
So how did we say that the rank is 1 for the outer product? Is it for any general outer product or specifically for the symmetric matrix case?
No. Take any vector u. Let u be any vector. Yeah, let v be any vector. As long as v is non-zero, the rank is equal to 1. That's a claim. Yeah, I suggest you try to prove it yourself. It's not difficult or anything.
Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, in fact, this was discussed in the quiz discussion. If you look at the recording in the website, you can see. Any other questions? Mukuddan wanted to talk.
My doubt, so if I'm audible, my doubt had gotten cleared a while back.
Okay.
It's just that immediately after as I asked my doubt, someone muted me. So.
Okay.
And whoever
so
muted
also,
me, I hope you can tell me as to why.
so also to find out the rank for any general matrix, we just find the solution for that matrix is equal to 0 vector, right?
Solution for any general matrix. Sorry, I didn't follow. What
So
are you talking about?
If we want to find the rank of a matrix, we find the solution to that matrix and the augmented matrix, which is like the 0 column. We add the 0 column on the right and then find the solution to that equation, right?
Sorry, I kind of lost. Could you ask? Could you repeat that again?
So if we want to find the rank of a matrix, so what is the procedure for that? Like,
yeah. So what is the procedure for that? One way is to do Gaussian elimination and try to yeah. So you can do Gaussian elimination and make lot of entries 0, no? And if some row is number of non-zero rows left after Gaussian elimination is the rank of the matrix, no?
So what will be the column that we will add for Gaussian elimination? It will be 0, 0, 0, right? Or will it be something else?
So you were taught this echelon form and everything, no? That echelon reduction and everything, and you can convert any matrix into a lower triangular matrix and things like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So and when you convert it into echelon form, the number of non-zero rows remaining is the rank of the matrix.
Okay, sir.
Right. Or another way to look at it is the dimension of the range of the transformation. The range of the transformation is also a vector space, and what is the dimension of the range for an n by n matrix? Okay, so otherwise it is little more complicated.
Sir, I think we can multiply and we'll see that R1, R2 are just multiples of each other.
So you need to eliminate rows which are linearly dependent from the previous rows.
Yes,
You need
all
to find
the rows will be multiples of each other, so rank is 1.
You are saying for this proof? Yeah. The
Yes,
rows will be multiples of each other of a single row, and then it becomes rank 1. Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll end the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.